Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons as I take more of your questions in a segment of Ask Judy. If you enjoy these segments, please do hit like and subscribe. This question is from Tamara from the Netherlands. Welcome. Who is asking, is there a limit as to how many takes a director can do to perfect a scene, and does it vary if it is a television show like The Waltons or a film? It definitely varies between film and television. On a large, big budget film, they might spend several days shooting a scene, and they can do as many takes as they need to get exactly what they want. In television, usually they're trying to get it in one or two, maybe three takes. If it's a complicated scene, it might take a bit more. So they really need the actors to know their lines and be ready and get it done, because particularly during the Waltons, Ralph Sinensky, our director, has talked about how they weren't allowed to just print. Like if they did three takes, they didn't print them all. They wanted to only print one take, so they would do it until they had a complete take they could use. So that means you might run through more film, but you only printed one take, and there were rare occasions when more than that happened. But everything was money. The cost of film was money. The cost of printing was money. How long it took to shoot a scene. All of that was about the budget. So you definitely, it wasn't that you had a limit, but they couldn't go on and on. It was like, get it. When you had a good take, print it. So then you said the second part of your question is, do you remember any instances when there were so many takes done that the actors on the set started to get silly or tired from the exhausting shooting, either on the Waltons or any other show? I do remember situations where somebody was fumbling with a line, could not get it out. Eric has talked about that sometimes he dealt with a little bit of a speech thing when he was young. And so sometimes certain words were harder for him to say. And if he had a line that had this type of combination of consonants and vowels or whatever that he had to say, he might keep fumbling over it. So what I do remember is sometimes if it got to be too many takes, like take one, take two, take three, every time in a scene, so let's say it was scene 3. So the master would be scene 3, take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4. Then if you were doing, say, a close-up, they wouldn't still say scene 3. It would become scene 3A, because that would differentiate for editing purposes between the wide shot and the close-up. So each time you changed what the camera was doing, you would add another letter. So it would be 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D. If you did a pickup shot, you would change the letter. And this would be what was on the slate, the clapstick as well, and what the sound editor would say to be able to identify what the take was and what the shot was. And they'd take notes about 3A was a close-up of Mary Ellen, 3B was a close-up of Ben, 3C was a pickup of the close-up of Ben. So all the notes would be designated that way to be able to keep track of the footage. So what would happen sometimes is if anybody was really having a lot of trouble with it and they were getting into take 9, take 10, to not have it look so bad, they would change the letter. So all of a sudden, instead of it being, scene 3B, take 10, they'd go, let's just change the letter, hopefully change the energy here, and it would be take 3C, take 1, take 2, take 3. So that's what I remember happening. And sometimes around the kitchen table, because it would just the air would just get pulled out of there, and it would be hot, and we'd get giddy, and sometimes someone would start getting the giggles, and then Michael, if she started getting the giggles, she couldn't stop, and so we'd start, and then she'd giggle, or somebody else would giggle, or we'd all start giggling. So I would say that the kitchen was one of the worst culprits for having those sorts of issues, but we had a lot of fun. This question is for Minx by Nature. Judy, in The Best Christmas, was it Joe Ellen that Kurt handed you at the frozen lake, or a life-size doll? She has no movement and loses a shoe. Maybe too many takes would have been too heavy to pass the little girl, and a plastic doll would have been lighter. Strange question, but it's my favorite episode and always wondered. So I looked back at that, and it is a real little girl. She's too big to be fake. And in that sequence where they're getting her out of the car, they're rescuing her, she has already lost a boot. So she was just probably lost that as she was being handed out of the car and over to the rescuers and then carried across to me. So someplace in that, the boot was probably somewhere in the car still. This question is from Rick, who said, enjoy your channel. Thank you so much. Regarding the SAG cards, that's the union, from the numerous actor interviews I have watched over the years, it appears that SAG membership is pretty expensive for actors starting out. It also seems from hearing the interviews, the actor has to have a certain amount of work, maybe in a particular year, to be eligible to get initial membership. Can you speak on these requirements? So I looked it up, and it says a performer becomes eligible for membership under one of the following conditions: proof of SAG-AFTRA, SAG, or AFTRA covered employment as a principal performer or recording artist, proof of 3 days of SAG-AFTRA, SAG, or AFTRA employment as a background actor, or employment under an affiliated performers union. So if you were part of another union, say Actors Equity, which covers theater, then you could become eligible to just basically join SAG by paying the membership dues. And it says all new members pay a one-time only initiation fee, plus the first semi-annual dues at the time of joining. The national initiation fee rate is currently $3,000, although it may be lower in some states. Annual base dues are $236.60. So there you go. That's the news on the union. I just wanted to share this comment that Ralph Sinensky made, where he said, I'm finally almost convinced the book burning scene in The Firestorm may be the most powerful sequence I directed in my 26-year career behind the camera. And finally, what an opportune time with what is happening in our country, our world today, for it to appear. So thank you, Ralph, for sharing that. And then I just had a request here for a shout out to say hi to Sharon Arena. So hi, Sharon. Thanks for watching. Thank you for sharing your questions with me and for watching this segment of Ask Judy. I'll be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons. Thanks for watching.